Okay, I had two ways I wanted to open this video. One is referring to my t-shirt. I didn't know what to expect. And the other is that my wife went to an antique store and found this Mattel edition of Spock. It's bigger than Data. I don't know if that matters to you at all, but has nothing to do with the video, which we're going to talk about Doctor Who in just a second. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and on this episode of Doctor Who, this is the last episode before the final two-parter. And so we expected it to be kind of a placeholder, and I find it to be an interesting story. It comes as kind of a surprise as to what exactly it is. We've been talking about the fact that they've done a lot of Earthbound stories, and this does start on Earth, but it ends up in several galaxies away, or what it looks like a problem of a being that is trapped between two planets. And it turns out that what it's really about is about two eternal beings who feed off the pain of others. And so, having drained these two planets that were about to collide with all the pain they could get from them, they somehow discovered humans, and also found that if they could attract the Doctor for some reason, they'd be able to have more access to humans. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense as to why they wanted the Doctor, but somehow she figures a way to free one of them who was put in some kind of prison of sorts. And perhaps that's all that they needed her for. And her knowledge of humans enticed them to go and find more humans to feed of their pain. And the Doctor does something, who knows what. She manages to get a sonic screwdriver out of her pocket so she can let loose of the chains, figure out how to reverse engineer their technology, go down and confront them, and stick them both into the prison the one of them was in to begin with, and that's the episode. That's kind of the surface of it. Behind there, they do kind of a character study on each of the characters as to what their worst nightmares are, and this is way more interesting. We have Yaz finding herself on a road with her sister on one side and a police officer in the other. Hard to know what to make of this, but certainly it's enough that is upsetting to Yaz. We have Graham, who is, in his nightmare, afraid that he's going back on chemotherapy, afraid that his cancer is coming back. And there is another cameo by Grace in here, which is kind of nice, as she is an interesting character, having only appeared in like 3 episodes so far of the entire 2-series run of this version of the Doctor. It's good to see her again. And then the rest of them are basically monsters. Okay, we have monsters that are drawn up by the person who we first lock in on, and then also Ryan's friend. And so this is kind of where this goes. And the interesting thing about it, the most interesting part about it, I believe, is that they zoom in also on the Doctor's nightmare. And the Doctor's nightmare is going back to Gallifrey. And there's another mention of the timeless child. The timeless child now kind of looks like the Ruth Doctor as a child. They show only a second or two of the character as a child, dressed kind of sort of in a colorful costuming like the Ruth Doctor, and perhaps that will give us just kind of a hint as what we're going to see in the 2-parter finale of this season. So this is interesting. The Doctor has only had a glimmer from the Master early in the series of how Gallifrey is destroyed and everything that they thought they knew is wrong. And it all has to do with the timeless child. So we obviously, before the series runs out, we will know who the timeless child is, and if it is more than one. The name of the last episode is Timeless Children, which is to say that it might apply to all Time Lords, or that Time Lords get their power from a single child, or there is something in common with this that the Time Lords have forgotten or that their memory has been erased from. We know that Time Lord's memory can be erased because the Time Lords did that to the Third Doctor. They made him forget how to travel through time. And so we know that this exists in past canon, if you can call it that, on this show. So that's what we pick up from this. Not a bad show, not anything that I would say was anywhere bad in the construction or the acting. It was a little confusing. It was meant to be. It talked about dreams, and it talked about some of the characters, and it gives us a little hint as to what is to come. Other than that, a fairly harmless episode. At least we get off the Earth for a little while, and while I'm a little concerned that the Doctor really didn't show how she outsmarted these eternal beings. She just said, I'm smarter than them, and did something with a sonic screwdriver and suddenly was there to finish it off. Obviously, that wasn't the important part of the episode, so they just didn't spend much time in it. So I'd like to know what you think about it. Please put it down in the comments. Also remember to subscribe and to ring the bell so you know when the next video comes your way. We'll have another episode of Star Trek Picard by the end of the week, and more on Doctor Who as it happens. So until then, don't go far.